Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Tim, and today I've got a quick tip on a problem that we're seeing more common. Actually, it's been around for a while. These are more vintage vehicles, but this tip's going to be applicable to basically 90s Nissan pickup trucks. This one's a 95. It's got the 4-banger manual trans. This one's 2-wheel drive, but this tip's going to be across the board with all motors and drivetrain, manual and automatic. Common problem: experiencing an intermittent no crank situation. Customer came in complaining of an intermittent no crank situation that's been ongoing actually for about 6 months now. It's gotten a little more consistent more recently, but actually it's been going on for quite a while, and just intermittently will not crank. The way he explains it, it kind of will almost click, make it energize the starter just briefly, and then nothing. And he can get it started with a jump start, or push start, excuse me, just popping the clutch since it's a manual transmission. So we know that the rest of things electrically and ignition and all that's great, just not cranking intermittently. So I got it in and experienced the issue right off. It didn't start at all. And put it on the rack, checked power to the starter. I got no power to the starter signal wire. And then I also checked the relays. So I kind of went from that side up and ended up back at the ignition switch. It's a common failure actually on these. Internally, the electrical portion of the ignition switch fails. We service this switch assembly as a whole with the lock and key and electrical portion of the switch. In this case, I'm using a CarQuest intermotor part. Like I said, it's the complete assembly with the lock and key. It's got 2 replacement keys that come with it, and the switch assembly as well. But it's a relatively quick fix to replace, but you will need like a angle grinder or a straight die grinder with a cutting wheel on it, so that you can notch the retaining bolts and remove those with the regular screwdriver. Basically, the removal process is drop the little clamshell off from around the steering column, which is actually, there's like 8 screws holding it together, and pull that off there, and you'll need to disconnect the electrical connectors to the ignition switch and some of those to the turn signal. That'll free you up enough space to get your grinder in there, your cutting wheel, and then you just notch out those retaining bolts. Those are smooth face. They're made to be that way. As you install the replacement ones, they break off and leave a smooth face so that it's a theft deterrent. I'm not too sure how much theft they're deterring, but I think just the look of the vehicle is enough of a theft deterrent, and then the fact that they don't start most of the time. So that's a good theft deterrent right there. So anyway, once you get the switch off, just reverse the procedure to reinstall. going to button this thing up and get it back on the road. Just thought it was worthy of sharing. Seem to have run into a few more of these lately. Of course, it is a more vintage rig that we're not seeing as many of, and I don't expect to run into too many in the future. But in case you do, now you know. And we appreciate you stopping by. We always appreciate the likes and subscriptions. And I wish you good luck with your repairs. All right, take care.